never imagined I'd become the man who would uncover the deepest betrayal of his life, committed by the person he trusted the most. For nearly a decade, I believed my marriage to Lisa was solid, almost untouchable. We had built a life together filled with laughter, shared dreams, a warm home, and friendships that felt like family. I took comfort in what I thought was mutual trust. That illusion came crashing down on an ordinary afternoon when her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, vibrating with more urgency than usual. It wasn't the frequency of the messages that raised my suspicion at first, but the name that lit up the screen: Dan from work. I knew Dan. I'd seen him a few times at company events. He always seemed pleasant enough, maybe a little too polished, too smooth with his compliments, but I'd dismissed it. I had no reason not to. Until that moment. One message preview shattered everything. Last night was unforgettable. Can't wait to see you again. My heart dropped. I stared, trying to convince myself I had misunderstood, misread, anything to avoid the truth. But as I unlocked her phone and scrolled deeper into their conversation, the reality became undeniable. They weren't just texting, they were involved intimately, emotionally. Message after message exposed a secret world of hotel meetings, romantic lunches, whispered exchanges, and declarations of longing that made my skin crawl. My hands trembled as I set the phone down. The woman I had shared my life with had been living a double life right beside me. But I didn't storm into the living room to confront her. I didn't shout or demand answers. Instead, I went quiet. I needed clarity, not chaos. Over the next few weeks, I became a silent observer in my own home. I installed a hidden camera in the living room. I linked her phone to one of my old tablets and began tracking her location using a discreet GPS app. My days were filled with surveillance. My nights were consumed with grief. What I found confirmed my worst fears. Her meetings with Dan weren't occasional. They were regular, bold, and filled with reckless passion. They shared stolen moments in hotels, exchanged intimate phone calls when they thought I wasn't listening, and treated their affair like some grand romance rather than the cruel betrayal it was. The woman I loved was gone. In her place stood a stranger who had been lying to my face. But amid the heartbreak, something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to break. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me unravel. I decided she would feel the full weight of what she had done. Not through anger, but through calculated, deliberate action. If she believed her lies would remain hidden forever, she was in for a bitter surprise. Quietly, I began to dismantle our shared life, piece by piece. I started with the finances. Our joint savings account was drained and moved into a private account under my name. The house, bought with money I inherited, was legally mine alone, something I confirmed with my lawyer as I updated my will to exclude her from any possible benefit. I began moving personal items, things that mattered to me like old letters, heirlooms, photos, important documents, into a secure storage unit. I didn't just want to end our relationship. I wanted to make sure she remembered how it ended. The day I set everything in motion, I called in sick to work. Lisa had gone to the office, likely spending her lunch break giggling at texts from Dan. While she played pretend at normalcy, I was preparing the final act. At 10 a.m. sharp, movers I had hired in secret arrived. Room by room, we emptied the house. Furniture, artwork, rugs, appliances. Everything went into the truck and was transported to a storage facility in a different city. By late afternoon, our home was no longer recognizable. It was stripped down to bare walls, devoid of comfort or warmth, just like the love I once thought we shared. The floors were bare, the space stripped down to silence. Just a single dining table with 2 chairs placed right in the center of the living room. On that table, I left behind 2 items: a manila envelope and a single red rose. Before leaving, I made sure the final detail was set. A compact projector sat on a nearby shelf, programmed to display a sequence of images on the blank living room wall. A slideshow I'd carefully assembled. Each frame was a piece of the puzzle. Photos, screenshots, recordings, and messages. A damning collection of everything she never imagined I'd see. Her betrayal, framed like a gallery of ghosts. Content with the setup, I locked the front door and left. I checked into a nearby hotel, knowing she'd be home soon. My text to her was short and deliberate. Come home. We need to talk. Around 6 p.m., I watched her from the shadowed edge of the parking lot. She pulled into the driveway, her silhouette freezing as she approached the door. Through the frosted glass, she likely caught the unnatural emptiness of the house, its quiet accusation. She stepped inside. A beat later, the projector clicked to life, spilling fragments of her secrets onto the walls. 5 minutes passed before I returned. When I entered, she was seated at the table, her eyes locked on the envelope I had left. The glow from the slideshow flickered behind her, casting her face in light and shadow. She looked up, voice breaking. "What is this?" I didn't reply right away. I pulled out the chair across from her, leaned back, and crossed my arms. "It's everything you thought I'd never find." Her gaze darted between the moving images on the wall and my face. "This isn't what it looks like. I can explain." "Don't," I cut in. "You don't need to explain. The truth's been playing on that wall for the last 10 minutes. Her lips quivered, but she said nothing. "Every lie. Every time you looked me in the eye and said you loved me. It's all there." I nodded toward the envelope. "Open it." She hesitated, hands trembling, but finally broke the seal. Inside was one sheet of paper, divorce papers signed by me. "I'm done," I said quietly. "You disrespected me, our vows, everything we shared. There's nothing left to salvage." Her eyes widened in panic. "But, where's all my stuff? The clothes? The furniture?" "Gone," I said simply. "This house is mine. Everything else has been removed or boxed up. You don't belong here anymore." She collapsed into sobs, gasping through her tears. A part of me, somewhere deep inside, twisted with guilt, but it was quickly overtaken by something stronger. Relief. She was finally facing the damage she'd caused. "What am I supposed to do now?" she cried. "That's not my problem anymore," I said flatly. "You're free to go wherever you want, with whoever you want." I got up, walking toward the door. Before stepping out, I paused and turned back to her one last time. "Oh, and one more thing," I said, my voice colder now. "Dan won't be much use to you. I sent everything to HR at your office. I imagine you both have some explaining to do tomorrow." Her sobs broke into wails as I stepped out and closed the door behind me. I didn't look back. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The storm had passed. The weight that had been crushing me was finally gone, replaced with a strange but welcome calm. Her betrayal had hollowed me out, but in that emptiness, I found something I hadn't felt in a long time. Control. Clarity. The weeks that followed were filled with paperwork, formalities, and letting go. Lisa left town, her reputation in tatters. I stayed. I replaced the furniture, reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years, and joined a hiking group to reclaim my weekends. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Mine. One evening, standing barefoot on the porch of my newly arranged home, a glass of whiskey in hand, I watched the sun sink beyond the trees. The breeze was soft. The silence was kind. And in that moment, I felt something unexpected and hard-earned. Peace.